Good afternoon, Sandeep Nulkar.
Thank you.
And a very good afternoon to you, the audience. Thank you for your presence here on this sunny, wintry afternoon. Um, well, once I came across a line that said, Indianisms, okay, are not mistakes. They are a celebration of how we Indians have made the English language our own. And this line, often I pondered upon it and, just left an impression on my mind. And today, I have really a great honor and privilege to be in conversation with Mr. Sandeep Nulkar, who has written a book on this very theme. It revolves around, very unique cultural, linguistic expressions that are found in the Indian language. And in fact, it's a potpourri or a mélange of, very typical classic Indianisms that are witty, that are humorous, that are really charming, and sometimes a bit embarrassing as well. So I would like to show you. This is the book that he has written, which is called Mind It. Like ma'am said, it's a tongue-in-cheek on how Indian language, Indian English, I would say, can really amuse, but also confuse. So I would like to present the author. In fact, he's a man who wears several caps. He's a man of numerous talents, and that's why I would really like to talk about all his achievements, which is a very long, extensive, and impressive list. And I think it's very important. Being a language teacher, I know we often ask, you must know the biography of an author. And that is why I would like to present all the achievements that Sandeep has achieved over the years. So, he is the founder of BITS Private Limited, one of India's oldest technical translation companies. A veteran of the translation industry in India and perhaps one of its most prominent faces globally, Mr. Nulkar was nominated by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, as a member of the National Executive Committee of Bhashini, formerly known as the National Language Translation Mission. He also serves as the co-chair of FICCI's National Committee on Multilingual Internet and Universal Acceptance and as the chairman of its Indic Internet and Language Technology subcommittee. He's also a member of the Regional Language Committee and member of ICANNs and FICCI's and a lot of other organizations. He's a member of the advisory boards of numerous academic institutes and has contributed actively as a member of the course committee and the Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha, a body constituted by the Government of Maharashtra, Ministry of Education. He serves as the Vice President of the Alliance Française of Pune. Sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. He serves as the President now. He just took over as President of the Alliance Française of Pune. And is one of the founder members and the first president of Language Industry Association, SITLOB. He is the first Asian to receive the Outstanding Contribution to the Language Industry Award at the annual Language Industry Summit in London, the first Indian to be named by the International Language Industry Research Body, NIMSI, as one of the top 50 global localization influencers, and has also been honored with the Symbiosis Udyami Award for Entrepreneurship. And that is not all. It's very important to know. Mr. Nulkar has 3 published books. They are Know Your Wordsworth, Shabda Shabdat, Mind It, which is the latest, and one soon to be published books to his credit, and has written the subtitles of several films and is currently working on his first film script. A former gold medal winning sprinter, lifetime sports enthusiast, he also contributes as a sports administrator and is also a member of the executive committee of Lakshya. It's a sports NGO working to create more Olympians by 2028. Absolutely commendable task. His latest achievement is an NGO called Empower Her that works for underprivileged children, girls especially, which he is the founding trustee. And now, may I add, he's also a very good friend. And indeed, it's a proud privilege for me to be in conversation with you, Sandeep. Once again, thank you.
So much. Thank you.
So, before we talk about your definition of Indianism, Sandeep, I know for a fact that you've been to a convent school, and so have I. And in those times, we thought that our English was the Queen's English, and we were so proud of our English language. But in the preface of your book, I found that you mentioned that your very first visit to London changed your outlook on the English language and also your attitude towards it. So can you tell us more about it? Was this the start of this novel?
So yeah, thank you so much for the elaborate introduction. When
You deserve it.
Yeah, but when you hear it like that, you just feel a little better than you actually think you are. But yeah, thank you anyway. Uh, well, yeah, so we kind of grew up in an environment where, at least back then in Pune, you had three distinct categories. You either went to a convent, you went to an English medium, or you went to a Marathi medium school. Mostly the ones from Marathi medium didn't even claim they knew English, and it was presumed for no real reason that the ones from convent or English medium schools knew English. And that's the bubble really I grew up in. And then, as it so happened, when I first went to London, and it's not like you have heard British people speak for the first time. You have watched TV, you have watched Mind Your Language and all those kind of shows. But it was this Grant and Cutler bookshop in London that actually opened my eyes to what really English means to them. So, very strangely, I was looking for dictionaries, and I came across a dictionary that was titled English to American. That's when it struck me that such is their pride that for them, their English is English and everything else is just American. So, by that logic, we spoke Indian.
Okay.
Many years later, there was another incident that really drove home the point of, and this is not by any stretch of imagination a purist talking. So we'll talk about that
A little later, yes.
Yeah. But I was in conversation with one of the very senior managers of the Daimler Chrysler company in Germany. We had a contract for translating their manuals, and he kind of pointed out something that he said, we have outsourced this to India. You are going to translate this into English, but be very mindful that Indians are not going to be the only readers.
Yes.
So you really need to come up with English that is very neutral. That's when I first thought of someone like Pranav Roy. Back then he really ruled the roost, and that's what I call the Pranav Roy English, which is pretty much neutral of any accent, of any Indianism, so to say. So he said, because we are a brand that are conscious of not only our cars, even our keychains, even every little thing that we ever produce is important to us, and by that logic, the language that goes into our manuals is also important.
Right.
So I think these are things that kind of contextualize the importance of correct English. It also helped that I was in a profession where it was required of us to write pretty high quality English. But yeah, that's when it first struck me that, what we speak probably is not English, it's just simply Indian.
Right. But then when you thought of writing this book, okay, what was your motive in writing this book? Was it to really educate or, find, tell the people that your English needs some correction? Or is it to, was it a parody? What was the perspective or the objective of this very book of Indianisms?
So again, this particular contract that I was talking about, I think that changed a lot of things, because then they had these external reviewers come in and take a look at the English. And one of the first things I remember I learned, which was an Indianism which I was using very inadvertently, most of us still do. We tend to say something like the concerned person. And within the translation, they pointed out, their reviewers pointed out, you probably mean the person concerned.
Correct.
And that's when it again struck us that, this is very Indian. And then years later, when I started writing a column for Saptaik Sakar in English, I kind of replaced someone who used to write a lot about grammar.
Okay.
And I come from a different generation as compared to him. I thought people might not have that kind of an attention span. So I wanted to divide the entire article into smaller pieces. And that's why one of the piece was to do with Indian English.
Okay.
The column became very popular. They came out with a book. And then I thought that it has still not addressed a section of people that really want to know more about English. This was predominantly for the vernacular audience, but there was also something in it for the English audience. And that's when this book came about. I think that research, so to say, has always been happening, because once you start writing, and like they say, if you are a hammer, you see nails all around. So once you start writing a book like that, every time you meet someone, you are trying to look for what is right, what is wrong, go back, do your research, and that's probably what's gone into the book.
So your basic research was observing people and kind of noting down their funny English or the way they use it. Like, for example, we often say, it's like that only now. So that's so typically Indian. So is that how you went about your research?
So yeah, it's all around us. It was quite helpful that I was traveling quite a bit because of my work, and one of the most amazing things I remember, and how I'm a big fan of Indian English, so it's not even really a comment, because sometimes it's like Indian Chinese. There's nothing better than Indian Chinese. There's a category of people that feel that. I feel there's nothing better than Indian English. So we started an office in Bangalore, and we wanted to buy some very basic furniture. The layout of the flat was such that we thought we needed an oval table. So we kept pestering the shop owner for an oval table. And he kept taking us to different tables which were not really oval in shape. So finally, running out of patience, we said, we actually just want an oval table. Do you have it or not? He said, vowel is ours, sir. So, and I can tell you, no amount of British English could have conveyed the intensity of his emotion, because this is like Indian English at its best. You not only have your own way of saying it, but you also have your own accents, and every different region has their own accents, and I find it extremely cute and extremely entertaining.
Yes.
And I would really hate to not speak Indian English in India. Because that just serves so many purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. In fact, let me tell you, when I heard that your book was out, I ordered it online. And when I started reading it, I was the complete picture of ROFL. Rolling on the floor, laughing out loud. Because I remember one incident, Sandeep, in that anecdote that you have mentioned. Okay, so often we say, now when we see a cricket match, we say, hey, Sachin left the catch. Okay, or my friend has come, hey, hubby, can you just leave her at the bus stop? Okay, leave her at the bus stop. You want to say drop her off at the bus stop, or drop the catch, or do you have leave some place in your stomach because I've prepared some nice dessert. So where does this leave come from? Basically, it is our vernacular, knowledge, and our Marathi, okay, or Hindi, chodna. Matlab, chodna is to leave.
Yeah.
So he has used such amazing incidents. I want to ask you, where did you get all those backstories? Did you invent them or you actually experienced them?
Some of them have actually happened, and I've mentioned one such story in my book, and it was quite hilarious when it happened. It almost qualified as a Me Too incident.
Oh my God.
So in our office, there's this very little space behind my chair for someone to access the fax machine. Now it's, of course, it's just a souvenir of era gone by. But so one of our new managers, she wanted to access that machine. So she somehow squeezed. She was new. She probably didn't want me to ask me to scoot or anything. So she just didn't say anything. She accessed the machine. I think on her way back, I had probably moved a little behind. So she had to say something. So she said, "Sir, soda na." And she comes from Vidarbha, which is part of Maharashtra, where that is legitimate Marathi. Basically, it means, literally, it means leave way for me. So, what, actually, the unsaid part is what soda.
Soda.
So she just said soda na. So I started
God.
laughing. I said, if someone were to hear this, this is
You would
not
be
going
inside.
down.
You would be inside.
This is not going down very well with anyone. So yeah, so these kind of things, they are happening all around us. It's just something that you start observing about people, you start enjoying. And may I say that you even start speaking like that when you're there sometimes, because
Oh, yes.
it's just so much fun to not be a purist among people who are speaking a certain way.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We Indians actually, honestly, we are so proud of our Indian English and we speak it with without any inhibitions. So why not? So, asking your question, since you mentioned purists, there is often this conflict between purists, the tradition, who want to say that you have to speak correct, grammatically correct English and, perfect English. And there are those who are very linguistically creative. So, what is your take on this? Should a language evolve? Should it be creative or should we really stick to the standard English?
I don't think there is anything such a standard. Because even if you look at the kind of Marathi we speak, the kind of Marathi probably our grandparents spoke, and then what was spoken 300 years ago.
Right.
It's all very different.
Right.
Again, I have a little story to tell you about this whole purist angle.
Okay.
So I was at the gym and my trainer was telling me, "Sir, मला तुमच्यासारखं शुद्ध बोलायचंय." So I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, you guys speak very pure and I want to speak like that." I said, "Why?" He said, "No, because that's how it should be." I said, "Not really. If you realize, language is just a tool. If tomorrow you invite me for a party at your place and you have your friends speaking your Marathi, then I am really the person who's going to stand out by virtue of my pure accents.
Absolutely.
Which you say is pure. If I invite you a party at my place where there are people speaking more like me, you stand out. So I think you are as pure as I am, and we are in just two different worlds. And I need to speak your pure Marathi if I have to really acclimatize well to your kind of social structure.
Right.
And likewise, so there's nothing really pure about this. I've got this question very often. In fact, I was so happy I got trolled. I didn't know how that feels like. But I think some magazine wrote about this book, and then there were. I was very sad that there were only 5 people trolling me. Usually it goes into millions, so I guess I'm not very popular as yet.
No,
So
you're
only
not Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah, only 5 people trolled me, but they said that what does this guy think of himself? It's purists like these that are spoiling everything. Does anyone tell any Americans to speak like the British when they go
Right.
to? Yeah, I said, yeah, that was not really the point of the book. If you had read the preface of my book, I'm saying that we Indians have this amazing ability to laugh at ourselves. We actually, as being not being a developed country, you're used to so much of
Yes.
not the right things around you. that often the best way to go through that is just to joke about it. So we have a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
So this is we laughing at ourselves.
Yes.
Then someone went ahead and asked me, then why did you actually provide examples of correct English in the book? I said that's exactly for people who have a very academic interest.
Correct.
And they just want to know that, okay, you're just making a joke of everything, you're saying this is wrong, but then you have not said
given
what is wrong.
Correct.
What is the right way of saying
Absolutely.
it. Which is the only reason I've really taken that angle. But the entire purpose of the book was just to smile.
Yes.
And just smile at our own language.
Yes.
And we do it in so many ways.
Absolutely.
So I think it was just that.
No, that's true. I mean, this book, I feel a language teacher, an English language teacher, can truly use this book because, it brings out all our idiosyncrasies, how we talk, and we're proud of it, and we should be, rightly so. It's our language, and I mean, it's kind of, I would say, a linguistic decolonization that is happening. But like he said, he's also provided answers, like what is the correct way of saying it, what are the prepositions, the adjectives, the verbs, etc. So it's really, this book can be seen and handled from different perspectives. I have another question for you, Sandeep. You have traveled extensively abroad, you're a global citizen. So how are Indianisms perceived internationally? Does an Indian, when he goes abroad and he uses all these Indianisms, is he ridiculed? Is he misinterpreted? Is he, looked down upon? What is, have you come across anything like that?
I think it's a very powerful question. It has more shades than just the language angle. And I will try and cover all aspects that come to my mind.
Okay.
So recently, a lot of Indians have been at the receiving end of some kind of violence in Australia.
Yes.
There have been stray incidents in other countries too.
Right.
And I think we live in a world where we are essentially talking them versus us in many aspects, in terms of language, in terms of culture, in so many other ways. I think the way you dress can make you stand out. The way you speak can make you stand out. And these are things that stop you from integrating well into a society that you have chosen to be a part of.
Right.
So I think we should start looking at it as that.
Right.
Of course, when we speak the way we do, because of our accent, because of our choice of words, I'm sure we are going to stand out. If the difference is not really too much, I think it's still okay. And it's okay in any case, as in, I'm not saying that Indian English or the way we are and we need to change. But I think this is how I look at it. If I come to your place as a guest, if I stay at your place for 10 days, I should make every effort to integrate well into whatever way of living you have adopted, and not impose my different way on you.
Right.
Too much. It should be a balance, because I bring a certain amount of
My own
spice,
yes.
some amount of character to your culture, which should also equally be accepted.
Right.
As much as I should be mindful of what I am really bringing into your house. The same applies to language and culture in a social context. I think there's been much debate about how the Goanness of Goa has been spoilt in recent times. It's become more North Indian.
Right.
There was a certain amount of trolling that happened on social media to this one gentleman who pointed this out. But
Yes.
it all comes back to language, which I see as being a very, very potent carrier of culture. So, to answer your question, yes, I'm pretty sure we are different, and I'm pretty sure people do definitely notice that. Depending on how different we are, it's not that much of a bother for them to understand us or to really be okay with whatever it is. But yeah, I'm sure we do speak very differently.
So you don't think that we should try to better our English? We should try to accommodate and kind of accept, if at all we know that this is wrong or this is erroneous or whatever.
Certain things, yeah. In the sense, I've, as in, this is again an example that you might identify with. So, most of us have or do ride two-wheelers. imagine you are riding a two-wheeler outside India, say in the UK or in the US, and your brake breaks, whatever that is.
Break breaks.
Yeah, if your brake breaks, because normally you press the brake to stop, and if your brake breaks, then you want to go into a shop and you want to ask for a brake. So you walk into a shop and you say, "Give me a brake," and the shopkeeper doesn't really understand what to give you,
Right.
which is where, and in India they will understand you.
Yes, of course.
Okay,
We
in
Indians
India they will
understand our
understand.
other Indians.
So this is the fine line where this is no longer about being proud of Indian English. It's more functional to understand that you probably have broken a brake lever, or maybe the cable that is attached to the brake lever. So that kind of understanding becomes
Right.
important. I also have mentioned, and it's one of my favorite chapters. I've actually laughed while writing the chapter, while reading it, and while proofreading it.
Do share it.
So imagine you're in this concert where Adele is singing, and she's singing some song, and you love that song. And at the end of the song, you just get up, start clapping, and say, "Once more, once more, once more." And Adele starts looking, she has no clue what you're expecting her to do. Again, an example where Indian English will not work. Till you don't say encore, she'll probably not have a clue as to what you're asking her to do. So I
Yes.
think these are kind of examples where you draw the line and start actually learning
Learning.
what are the right ways to say things.
Right. Right.
But in India it works, because in India if you stand up and
Say
say
once
encore,
more.
it will be the same reaction. People have no clue what you expect them to
Right.
do. So, yeah.
So while you have worked in the translation industry, do you think there were any problems or any challenges when you had to translate Indianisms, or not really?
Not really, because we have mostly translated content written by Indians for Indians, or
Okay.
and in which case we perfectly understand what we mean. So there've never really been problems like that. But I think, in general, there is also something known as simple English. It's a thing,
Okay.
and simple English is how you can just simplify writing any kind of content, especially user centric content, so that the understanding and retention is higher.
Okay.
So yeah, not really faced any problems translating Indianisms, because we understand,
Understand.
they are not anything
Maybe
that
an
really
English
stands out.
native would find it very difficult.
Very difficult,
Very difficult.
especially the prepositions. So sometimes on, top, and under, and all these things,
Right.
we are pretty agnostic to all these things.
Yeah.
So
That's
on the
true.
table, under the table,
Yeah, yeah.
above the table, on top of the table. It we get what we want to say.
Yeah, that's true. We understand each other
Yeah,
very.
yeah.
No, so I mean, there are like I found from your book that we have these Punjabisms and Gujaratisms and Hindisms and whatever. So, with your permission, may I just read out one small anecdote which I found very, very. I mean, it resonated with me. So. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and that will really motivate you to go through this book, which is hilarious, okay, and so true. So this is a typical pre-wedding scene in India, okay? The boy's side, okay, it's the boy's side and not the boy's family, okay, comes over to see the girl and not meet the girl. See the girl. Some small talk later, the guests settle down. And elaborate sugar and fat-laden eatables, etc., are served, etc. Girl and boy are sent away to quickly fall in love with each other. They emerge after a while, and the families seem reasonably happy with the meeting. Some more small talk ensues, and then it's time to leave. Once the boy's family leaves, the contained excitement is unleashed, and one enthusiastic aunt proclaims, "That way, if you go to Sina, he is the perfect choice for Radha." The typical Indianism will not make much sense to a native speaker. What way are we talking about? And where are we going? And what will we see? Too much confusion. What the aunt probably meant was, I think he's the perfect choice for Radha. Okay. So where does this stem from? So Sandeep so aptly has said, actually what it means, वैसे देखा जाए तो, isn't it? If that way if you see, okay, वैसे देखा जाए तो, or in Punjabi, I don't know, mind my Punjabi, okay, मैं I think it's on the वेखिया जाए तो, right? So basically this is what Indianisms is about, right? So I really would, this book is by Rupa Publications and it's available here. I would really, really welcome you all to go through it. So my last question, Sandeep, to you is, so what is your future how did you foray into writing and what are your future plans? You've already written 3 books and I heard that you're also writing scripts. So can you tell us a little about it?
I, firstly, about the book,
Yeah.
because that's something very close to my heart. It's got nothing to do with English, nothing to do with language. It's pure fiction, fiction based on reality. So I don't know how much
Okay.
fiction, but it's a story of marriages.
Oh.
We increasingly see a lot of marriages failing, a lot of people staying in marriages for a variety of reasons, barring the right ones. So I thought it was about time for someone to come and talk about marriage as an institution. I completely believe in it, but probably not in its current form. I think we have also been told certain stories about how love, marriage, sex, and children are intertwined, which I feel need not be the case. And the younger generation is, I think, exploring that and finding more happiness, so to say, in their relationships. Although the grown ups don't feel that way.
Right.
I have always been very close to the younger generation, and this is what I really see. They're very chilled out about a lot of things.
Right.
So that's a story that's been simmering, and the book
Okay.
is almost ready. It's just the paucity of time that I haven't been able to finish writing that. So that's one. The script writing just happened by the by, because I did the subtitles of a very popular film, Marathi film called Mi Vasant Rao,
Oh.
which was selected for the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, very
And
good.
then in that process, I started, as in I got to know the director well, and he kind of asked me if I would be willing to write a script for him. So that, in fact, that script is now complete. I've
Okay.
given it to them. So yeah, I think future plans are basically writing a couple of more scripts that are in the offing, and completing this novel, and we surely and certainly aim to make a movie out of it.
Oh, very
So
nice.
it'll also be converted into a screenplay at some stage.
Oh, wow. Very good. That's really good. Commendable. So may I throw we conversation to the audience? If you have any questions.
So my question is that a very novice amateur speaker like the aunt in the story we just heard is probably speaking that way because they are first thinking in their first language and then translating.
Absolutely.
But a more mature speaker of that language, even though that's not their first language, will they still do the two-step process in a more efficient way, or they'll just bypass and one go they are like speaking?
I think it's just how we speak. As in, for all the stuff that I've written in the book, and I'm anything but a purist. As in, there are people who are talking to me and they say, "But isn't that incorrect English?" I said, "Yeah, it is." He said, "But you have written a book where you say that's wrong." I said, "Yeah, but I'm in India, I'm an Indian, I'm speaking Indian English, you're Indian, let's all enjoy speaking the way we do. When I step out, I'll be a little more conscious." So, to answer your question, I think the younger generation does have a better way of expressing themselves, which is a little more in tune with the English. But we also carry some of our legacy of just the way we speak. You'll still hear a lot of people say small, small and little, little. Just the other day, I was listening to a roundtable of actors, and Akshay Kumar said that these small, small things or something like that. So it happens. It's just a part
Natural.
of you. It's a part of you.
Just a personal question.
Sure.
Which language do you think in?
I think
Nice.
in English and Marathi.
Okay, because even I'm from a convent school and I think in English, and I've never, I mean, my accent is very Indian, but I've never done the English, Indian English thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder why. Is it because I think in English?
It's, I think, the ability to switch. Because if you hear someone like Amitabh Bachchan speak in Hindi, it's very difficult. You can be mistaken if you, as in, you will not be mistaken if you think of him as a Dehati. Because someone who speaks that quality of Hindi obviously can't speak that quality of English. But then you listen to him speak English, and then it's like, okay, probably his Hindi is not that good. But they can switch, and I can tell you from personal experience, Maharashtra Times had done this program with me after some SSC and HSC exams, and it was a packed hall, like 400 odd people crammed into a hall of 300. And I wasn't really thinking about the audience because I've been on stage before, and the stage fright and what to talk wasn't really an issue. Two steps, climbing the second step, and it was like, shit, this is Maharashtra Times, this is Marathi, and I'm going to have to speak completely in Marathi and not code mixed, as it is called. And this was in 2010. And that's when I think that switch was noticed for the first time, that there is a switch inside my brain, that I can switch to Marathi and then reasonably stick to Marathi, barring as in, you don't want to again sound like a Marathi purist who will not use a single English word. So I will still say computer, maybe not a Sanganak, but I'm saying there is a switch. So I think I can think in Marathi depending on the context. Tomorrow at an event I'm going to speak in Marathi, and today I've been speaking English. Yeah.
Hi. Couple of questions actually, and just one point here in terms of what you mentioned on switching. I think most people in India tend to switch multiple languages because we're conversant in multiple languages. I know I switch from Marathi, English, Hindi, and a few other languages. So it's very easy, seamless for us. We don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Okay. The second, the question I have, the first question I have is, what is your observation on the speed of talking English of Indians when you go abroad? Because we tend to speak fast, is what I heard. Is that true?
We don't speak fast. We don't have an accent. So, and is much longer than and. So you put 50 words together where you're not using an accent, you kind of give that illusion that you're speaking faster. And of course it is fast. It's a lot of words to take in a very little amount of time. But I think it's to do with the accent. And because I have a lot of work, I used to have a lot of work in Germany, I started off speaking English very slowly. And I used to get complimented for my English. And I didn't understand why initially, and then eventually someone said it, that it's very easy for us to understand what you're speaking because you go slow. So I think hopefully that answers your question. It's probably the accent.
I mean, during my professional life, I have heard that, you can slow down, can you slow down, please? That's a typical comment you get in conference calls or whatever for most Indians. Anyway, so that is one. The second question I had is about, that thought which you said, it resonates with me, that the language is a river. It assimilates everything, right? And so this debate about purists and not purists, it's just a means of communication, it's a tool. At the end of the day, it's just a tool, right? And it should evolve, it should progress. And today's language, like you said, is very different from 300 years back. So, So, English has a lot of contribution of multiple languages. And even we have contributed our Indianisms or Indian words into English. Shampoo, chins, and all those people.
Absolutely.
So, are there any recent words which, one typical Indian word is prepone.
Yeah.
I hope prepone because it's a global word.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a wonderful word. It actually encapsulates everything that one wants to say, and it's a pity that the dictionary doesn't have that, and I'm pretty sure it should be and will be included at some point in time. But yeah.
So have you seen any other words that come to mind in the recent past that have kind of become, because you interacted with global language people, so have you
So
seen anything?
I can tell you from my own personal experience that anything that is now going global as Indian, whatever, fashion, culture, cuisine, has kind of started being accepted as words that they don't mind using. So, a very recent example was masala. There was no explanation that one needed to give. People understood when you say masala, they know because they know the word from not only one or two speakers, but I think it's just the soft power of Indian cuisine hitting the Western shores that's doing it. So I'm sure there'll be an increasing number of words in the days to come. No, yeah, shoe
Shoe
bite.
bite. So often.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you another such word. Every Indian birthday party ends with return gifts,
Return gifts.
and
Yes.
it has actually no connotation anywhere outside India. Unless you say party favors, it's not understood. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. Yes, we have one more question.
So you spoke about having written subtitles for me, me Vasant Rao, and I have actually heard a lot of praise for you in that direction. Um in the recent times, when the South Indian films are taking over, that is where dubbing comes into picture. And initially, I mean, if we look at 5 to 10 years ago, the dubbing was horrible. Um Even the subtitles were bad, really bad. I'll give you an example of this Amazon Prime, The Hard. There, actually, I tried translating the poem of Badri Narayan that is mentioned in out there. The translation out there, or the subtitles, if I'm not wrong, they are pathetic. Let me be very frank. So, what is changing? I mean, is there education being provided in terms of translation that is getting better? That is why this market is improving, or there is a special need in the film market that, okay, no, we have to have our subtitles really good, we have to have our dubbing really good. What is changing currently, and what is the need currently?
A lot changed after COVID because I think Money Heist was one that became very popular and the subtitles helped. And I think there was, I forget the name, the Korean, yeah, Squid Games. And again, the subtitles played a very important role. Now, of course, consumption of entertainment content for the sake of entertainment is one thing. But I honestly prefer not to have either subtitles or dubbing. If you want to watch a film, watch it in the original language without anything. You might not understand every single word, but the film should draw you in and give you something, a little bit of their culture. So even within the subtitling, so to say, logic that we have used, we have always tried to retain words that are very Marathi, so to say. So we don't translate words like Baba as father because that's just how we are. That's what we call our father. So if you watch a Marathi film, carry back a little bit of our culture with us, with you. Yeah. So, but yeah, to answer your question, there is a little more awareness because for this particular film, the director called me. It's not some second assistant, third assistant director who was asked to get a job done. It was a film that was very close to their hearts, the director as well as Rahul, and which is why I think they had that kind of passion about that being done well. In fact, for the first time in many, many years, I've actually not slept at all during the finalizing of the print in Red Chilies in Mumbai. We stayed the entire night, all the time. So that was the kind of importance they had given. It happens on and off. It's still not the norm. But yeah, there is a little more awareness. Directors and producers are also paying a little more. And I think what you pay will define the kind of quality you get. Otherwise, people are doing it out of passion or just to get it done.